Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Open session here, public hearing to give all interested persons the right to appear and to be heard on proposed maintenance and operating, interest and sinking, and capital budgets for fiscal year ending 2019. Proposed EDC budgets include economic development projects as defined by Texas local government, Code Chapter 505, Type B corporations. Are there any citizens to be heard?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. Well, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to discuss items 4 and 5 of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Moved by Wayne. Need a second. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed.
I wasn't here.
We will, any discussion on number 4 here, the minutes from the last meeting, which was August 15th. That's found in tab number 4.
Yeah, I'm good.
I had a couple edits, but Glenn took care of them, mostly me being absent.
I just thought you were here. I don't.
All right, do we need to approve these?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve
I
the
wanna-
minutes if there's no discussion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right. Moved by Diane, seconded by Wayne. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 5 is the approval of the EDC fiscal year ending 2018 revenue and expenditure balance sheet and encumbrance reports dated from September 13th of 2018, so this month. Anything that we need to know here that is an outlier from our previous month's report? Or is there any questions for Glenn? I didn't see anything, I just,
I didn't either.
any other discussion at all? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Wayne. Seconded by Stevie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to these items here that we have for individual consideration. I guess I need to take a motion to discuss number 6. If I could have a motion to discuss.
I move we discuss item number 6.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor of doing so?
Aye.
All right. Number 6 is the presentation from the EDC staff. This is for our budget for 2019, am I correct?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. President.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to discuss before we have any questions or anything?
We can, go through the proposed FYE 2019 budget. Most of the figures have stayed the same from the last presentation last month. You can see the sales tax is estimated at 1.2 million. That'll probably get adjusted a little bit as we get the last statement this fiscal year in. And then anticipated mixed beverage sales tax at 9,707. So that gives us about 1.22 million in the revenue account, not accounting for interest, which is another 8,500 approximately. We do have under contractual services. I know those are anticipated to be a little bit higher this year. We've got 16,000 in the budget from last year. A lot of that is due to an agreement we have with a property database It's a plugin for our website. So anyone actually can go to the edc.com website and find commercial properties. It's not exclusive or all-inclusive. I found a couple of missing properties, and those we do send in, and they try to follow up with the brokers that represent it to get those added. But it is a pretty nice service, and then we don't have a lot of data entry that way. The audit fees right now are only anticipated to go up at $100, so this next year will be $3,200. We're keeping our international conference, our ICSE conference, about the same, 9,000 budget. That gives us room to where we can update the booth materials, which I was planning to do this year. I think we've had the same one for at least 4 years, the backdrop. And that also is our trip to Las Vegas. So it's a Dallas show that we actually set up the booth and market, obviously, the city to developers, businesses, any prospect. And that's it used to be just a state show. This year, they're actually marketing it as a regional, so it'll be all the border states as well. And it also includes us going to Las Vegas for the international conference, which we don't set a booth there. We walk the floors typically. And again, you meet a lot of retailers, but more so, it's the developers and the hoteliers and some of the ones that don't necessarily have a footprint here locally. An estimate on bank fees, $500. Legal fees, just kind of look at what we've spent in the past. So that's close to $3,000. The land use planning is down from this last year. We had thought about doing a larger project last year. That's why we had the $91,000. After sitting down with some of our property owners, I think we showed examples of it at the last meeting, some conceptual design plans that we've done, both video and then paper flyers. We've got a couple of them up on the website right now. So we're just looking at maybe implementing that, or maybe even taking to the next step if we get some serious interest. That's why we have $25,000 on that line item. Let's see, the 380 agreement now is in another line item. That's why that particular one is zeroed out. Workshop and promotion gives us the ability to sponsor local workshops for either small business needs, possibly even a partnership with the chamber on one of their workshops. We have marketing. For the last several years, we've tried to keep it around the $30,000 range to give us the flexibility to do marketing. That's also happens to be, I guess, the pot we tend to do the Google virtual tours out of, because it is marketing related to our area businesses. Website development and maintenance, got 8,144 in. The management service agreement, that's with the.
Yeah. Gosh dang it, I'm sorry, Glenn.
Gotcha.
Is there a reason why that's listed twice under commodities and contractual services, the website development and maintenance?
Yeah, we've got two different websites.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay.
Oh, is that one zeroed?
Yes, the one is zero.
Okay. So
Am
it
I
just
missing that out?
switched.
Yeah, it's zero.
Oh, I apologize, I
Let's say
missed
we
that.
actually used to have it listed twice too. One for our Shop Lotus and one for the EDC.
Gotcha.
Okay, management service agreement, 5,400, that's the agreement we have with the city. We'll be approving that contract at the next meeting. The debt service looks like it's higher at $323,000 from last year's $200, but it's actually just been consolidated. You can notice, you'll see debt service interest and stuff on those, just been consolidated into one line item. Let's see here. And then the Old Town parking lease, that's one we have with Martin Terry Jr. By Antique Depot to allow for public parking. Typically, every day of the week outside of an outdoor floor concert. Is really the only stipulation. Otherwise, he was intending to convert that to a paid parking lot.
How have we only spent, is it from, in a different line item, or how have we only spent $115 this
No,
year
it was
on that?
definitely from a different line item.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's fine. That's just,
It's down in commodities. Yeah, it's, to
Oh, I
date,
see it.
5,513.
okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, some things are just switching around. Makes it hard. Really, the standout in the contractual service would be land acquisition at 234,650. Right now, there's no set plan to buy any land. It's kind of upon discussion. So we've looked, the board back in January approved a new strategic plan. Part of that plan was to develop or try to establish a visitor center. Gonna have to, purchase the land eventually, so we're trying to get an account set up to where we could look at doing that. Or, there's also been talks, oh, nice, a training. Maybe a commercial property could hit the market that is, makes financial sense for us to either invest in, and flip it or not. I mean, anything we do would have to come back to this board and get approved. Just by this being in a line item, it does not mean we're taking action on anything.
When you say flip, I'm thinking that the EDC is making a profit off of buying commercial properties, what it sounds like to me.
So-
And that's
It's,
legal?
it's always, it could happen. Typically, though, EDC, a lot of EDCs bank commercial land and use it as an incentive, so they sell it below market value, to encourage a development.
Interesting. So why would that not be, I completely understand what you're saying, and that makes sense. If it is more of a reserve fund, which meaning it could be used for land acquisition or it could be used for something else, why is it not just called reserve or something other than specifically land acquisition? Because when it's posted like that, it looks like that's all it's allotted for. I understand the conversation we're having here, it's more of an open, but looking back, when we review this next year, whatever, you know what I mean? Or when someone else sees it, it looks like we're allotting that money specifically for that reason. Is there any reason why it's not more of a general term? Does that make sense? If the use is intended to be more of a general reserve fund?
Two things, Chair. If you look at, this is actually presented as a balanced budget, so it's net zero revenues over expenditures. So if you wanted to change that to, you really wouldn't change it to a reserve. Basically, essentially what you would do is eliminate that line item and have a net revenue over expenditures on the bottom line. So we would be ahead 234,650 essentially.
And we'd
That-
have to put it somewhere.
Because if a reserve is neither a project nor an activity that the EDC would do. So what we try to do is line item every activity that we can think of and get it approved by this body and also city council so that we don't have to keep getting approvals throughout the fiscal year from both the EDC and the city council. So if you want to do that, that's fine. You can name it whatever you want to if you
Yeah.
want to maintain a zero balance. But if you want a reserve, we would just eliminate it from the budget.
So the reasoning for listing it as land acquisition is that would be the most reasonable use for it right now. And so instead of having to go back again to this board and city council,
And
we're approving it
change.
now and making that process quicker, I guess?
Yes.
From having to go back and get a second approval. If we,
Moved.
Not really, because you would, any future land acquisition would have to be approved by this body, and the deeds and everything would have to be approved by council as well.
Gotcha.
So this was simply a placeholder that we put in there that we've started to think about, hey, it might be nice for the EDC to get in the land business as more of an incentive for types of development. And that's really, we're at the very beginning stages of that.
Gotcha.
So if you, again, want to remove it, I would just simply remove it from this. That doesn't prevent us from having conversations in the future about land acquisition or anything of that type. And then we would just go through the motions of publishing those projects and having the EDC and the city council approve it at that time.
and I'm fine with it how it is. I guess my more or less question is from not knowing that, and you've already answered the question, but by having it in that account, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we can use it for. We can't pull that next year and move it for another project that we see fit. This board could move that money from the land acquisition line item and move it to XYZ, whatever project we see
Yeah.
that it would need to go to, just by a vote.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then under commodities, we have increased the office supplies. It's kind of a wash between office supplies and operational expense. One went down and one went up, each of those 7,500. As Mr. Schroeder stated, the website development was moved to contractual services under another line item. That's why that zeroed out. We have the communication equipment, $1,421. That's for the cell phone and iPad use for on the EDC. And then reimbursement mileage, if there is any travel that needs to be reimbursed, it's $250. So, and then you can see under the commodities, that's where the 380 agreement reimbursements was relocated to. And anticipated next year, $421,078. So, as Mr. Schroeder stated, that leaves us with a net balance of zero, revenues and expenditures balance on that account. We also have the capital improvements project on the EDC. That's a combined account with, in a sense, with the city. We have our own line item on there. And next year, as long as we get our Clomar approval for the pedestrian bridge, you'll have the EDC 2015 C of O expenditures. That's where those monies are been allocated, and anticipated $297,384. And that's it. Tonight, we would need an approval of the resolution and the budget.
Okay. Any other discussions, questions, thoughts?
When does the banking portion go out to bid again? Is it a 3-year,
That is a 5-year contract.
5-year contract?
We're likely in the middle of that timeframe.
Third year,
So
beginning, yeah.
third year likely.
Okay.
I don't know exactly, but
sounds
we've been
about
with
right.
Frost for a while, so.
Sounds about right.
Do I have a motion to approve the,
I propose, make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
I second.
okay, moved by Wayne, seconded by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Budget passes unanimously. Going back to our agenda here. Item 7, discussion and action on the production of a local directional map by the name of Bird's Eye View. And I guess you have some stuff for us, Glenn?
Got a couple, I don't think I have enough.
I've seen it, so you can
I've
give
seen
it to
it.
them.
I have one in my car.
These were my favorite.
Yeah, Fredericksburg seems to have the most.
We had one. No,
Yeah, Fredericksburg
Oh, yeah,
was
we
the first location done that had a map. Initially, it was exclusively for Fredericksburg, but that has since changed. They've done Bernie. I think in here they're looking this year to do possibly Helotes and Comfort, and then next year looking into New Braunfels
things.
and Terlingua, and Bulverde Spring Branch area. They're in negotiations. So the company's been around for 25 years. It was taken over about 3 years ago. I do not recall her last name, Sarah. She bought the
Here.
company 3 years ago. And that's the reason why it's starting to grow into more smaller cities. And she thought it was a great way for businesses, small businesses, in fact, to advertise. Also, with the success out in Fredericksburg, tourists, and any visitor that's not familiar with the area, trying to search on your phone, although Google is awesome, you don't really see everything, and it's hard to find your points of interest. In the paper map, it's pretty clear. It may not be to scale, but, they said a lot of the hotels we've talked with like handing them out because they can show people, how to get from point A to point B, really easily.
And we had one, who did the one we had?
Did the one that we've used, I don't think we've printed it in a while.
Right, but you did that one?
Yes.
Okay.
So
This
part
is-
of the benefits of partnering with someone like Bird's Eye View would be really economies of scale. She prints 65,000 maps when she does it. We'd go and do it, we'd print 1,000, they were only available, anyone who wants it, but typically it's here. Ours wasn't subsidized with advertisers or anything. And we didn't have quite as
No.
pretty of a picture with the buildings
Right,
and everything.
right.
It's actually a little process. I mean,
This
she
is-
goes out, any advertiser in there, she'll go out, she takes pictures of the building, and then it goes to the graphic artist, and he,
Yeah,
puts his little drawing to it to make it look just like that building.
job.
what are they charging for that?
That's awesome.
Part of it kind of depends on how tonight goes. So base, she's around $3.95 for an ad, for a 1.5 by 1.5 ad. If we're able to help assist with the map, then she would be lowering that price down to make it more affordable to the businesses and also to speed up the production. So she does print 65,000 maps. All advertisers get them, all the visitor center, anybody who wants it. She drops them off at all the hotels, the travel centers. And then she also tries to work deals to the other communities she's doing maps for. So like, she wants us to consider housing Bernie and Fredericksburg, but she's also asking Bernie and Fredericksburg to house Helotes. So we would all have our unique map. The map for this area, don't have tonight to show you. The one side is focused around Old Town, so that's gonna be one side of the map. And then the flip side is a broader area, goes from SeaWorld to Six Flags and then out to 46. It's kinda neat how it's drawn. It's surprisingly, you can get everything in there. It's just the way, they scale it. So part of, the benefits with, for partnership with the EDC would be, accuracy of the information. We would, myself would be involved in the review process, make sure she gets the historical markers, the business names, all the important information gets in there, events, all of our parks and everything. She does produce this every year. Let's see.
It wouldn't stay, we couldn't ride this out for a few years, 'cause
She
it's
redoes
really-
it every year, 65,000 maps every year.
Okay,
So the businesses, when they sign up, whatever rates determined, if it was $3.95, that's good for 1 year.
oh, okay, I understand that part, I get it. Okay.
Glenn, did I understand that she was only going to include Old Town Helotes?
No, so one side, similar to the map that's in front of you, one side is a blown-up area, and that would be Old Town. The flip side would be the greater kind of northwest corridor from SeaWorld to Six Flags.
Well, I'd like to see the shopping center and
Yeah, why would it be
others
just
included,
Old Town?
rather than just Old Town.
Well, you should be able to kind of see it on the map that's there. So even in the northwest quadrant, you're gonna have the names of the businesses, strip center, identification, the buildings. It's just, when you get into a place like Old Town, you have a little more density on some of those properties. So it, just needs to be blown up in order to tell, and that's more of the tourist area. It's the historic district.
Yeah, historic district, I think, is the biggest thing. I think it's important to note too that if you're looking at the map, the buildings that are marked,
Yeah.
you notice there's buildings that aren't marked as well. The buildings that aren't marked are the people who are not advertisers around the outside. So if you don't advertise, you don't get your name next
On
to
your
your building.
building.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So I think that's important too. I mean, it's a revenue source, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just think it needs to be noted that, you know, it's not inclusive of everyone. It's inclusive of those who
Who advertised?
are advertising.
Yeah.
Now, their building may be on there for someone to point out to them, or whatever, but it won't have a name or whatever on it.
Here again, she's got enough geographic area covered here that the entire city of Helotes would, the main street, 16 from, say, Alsman or south, wherever wherever the city limits is, up to El Chaparral would cover in that whole map with the graphic percentage that she's got covered there in Fredericksburg.
Right.
I think so.
that's what I
kind of go with Stevie, that, if you don't put it in there, should have all the citizens, all the businesses of the Lotus. I got one other comment. If, you fold it and you put this in a folder or something, that's not very easy to see or pick up the city of Lotus. That's a good point. I had to look all over to find
No, I agree.
Fredericksburg.
And that's something that I'm actually.
Yeah, I did too.
So, if you're gonna put that out for pickup in, downtown or whatever.
Right.
Well, I sure like to have something that says Lotus up there, that they can see it's a Lotus and pick up a Lotus and come to a Lotus.
Even if it's a different color,
Yeah,
it would
anything.
stand out.
Anything would stand it out
Yeah.
better. That's just hidden in the map. And if you open it up, after you open it up, you never see it. God, look at it a minute
That's
ago, I
just too
couldn't find
busy.
it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, they have a lot more going
So
on
if-
here.
For the front deal here, that should be, we will have, look here and come enjoy a Lotus.
Right.
Agreed.
And
Not
call me
quick.
crazy, but when I read a map and I know that there's an inset, like if this was a Lotus and the inset on the other side was Old Town, I would like to flip it like this, but I have to go like this. Just me.
That's interesting, yeah.
I wouldn't even thought of that, that's a good point.
Yeah, because wouldn't you take it?
Right.
And say, oh, I want to see details of Old Town. Oh, wait a minute, I can't. Hang
What
on.
happens if you flip it the other way? You know what I mean?
No,
If you don't
from
flip it
left
the
to
way
right,
you flip
then
it.
it would work.
That's what I do, left to right.
Okay.
Oh, see,
It's
if-
still
okay,
upside
up or
down.
down, but some people
It's-
do it like
I
that.
do this one.
That's the way you do it?
I'm a mapper.
I'm not, I want it quick and down and dirty and easy, so I flip it that way. So it's just me, I'm weird, okay.
Talking about the map?
You got enough businesses coming in with that strip
Call me weird.
from down the city limits of south city limits up here now. You're gonna, with the new shopping centers and everything, from there to Old Town, you're eliminating 40 businesses.
Well, no, but one side of it's going to be the entire map of SeaWorld to Fiesta, Texas, to 46, to, what was the bottom marker? Not 1604, it goes farther south.
A little bit inside, not that far actually past.
So it's gonna encompass that entire area.
Northwest.
And the
All
way it's
northwest side.
scaled is the center is
She wants to get
larger.
as many people on there as she can, because that's more money for her.
Yeah, right.
I happen to agree with them. I think that there could be a bigger, there's enough room on that
Oh, I
map
see
to
what you're saying.
include Helotes city limits to El
Shell
Chaparral.
Chaparral.
and-
Okay, now I see what you're saying,
Then
okay.
you then she's got the opportunity to get all those businesses. But if you stop it at Old Town, she's gonna lose 50 potential customers in advertisements.
I guess I'm just not following because she's not stopping it. We're saying there, one side of the map is that whole area. It's all of Helotes.
But
So those
Glenn-
businesses, if they want to advertise, they have a presence.
Well, you said you were gonna have one side just Old Town, like this here.
One side,
One
yes, and the
side.
other side is a
Okay,
larger
if you
area
put
which
the other side
incorporates all of
and you
Helotes.
go all the way out to SeaWorld, you never find a Lotus.
No, so it's not drawn to scale. So Helotes is it's hard to
Larger
explain.
percentage
It's a
of the
larger
map.
percentage, and as you go out, it scales down. So the distance between Coliseum and I-10, you're talking is like 3 inches on her map.
She's not gonna have enough potential customers from just Old Town Helotes to make this a profitable deal for her.
Well, and,
That's why we have the flip side.
That's not our problem
but,
either way.
but it doesn't,
It won't
if it's
work. It
going
won't work.
Fiesta, Texas to SeaWorld, our business is that Broadway Bay. Really, it would be irrelevant of them to invest. But if we have city limits to Old Town Chaparral, then we've got more businesses, we're promoting our people, she'll have more clients for sure.
Well, I think,
And it
Yeah,
makes more
by all
sense.
I see.
At least she should, plus to come talk to us or something about it, but give us more reason.
That's Fredericksburg. Well, one of them is Bernie and a couple of them are Fredericksburg.
I think the difference between us and them too is that we are somewhat surrounded by San Antonio with Bernie, Fredericksburg.
Nobody up there.
There's nobody around them.
Right.
So we are part of the San Antonio community whether we like it or not.
Right.
And people that are coming to this area are also utilizing the services such as SeaWorld, Fiesta Texas, Floors, all the same. So I think that is a differentiator between us and them, positive and negative, but it is what
What
it
other
is.
towns does she have that's close by? Does she have,
Bernie's the closest.
how about New Braunfels or someplace like that?
Nope.
Is there a reason why she's not here presenting? I'm curious myself.
I just told her I would present it, so. She's actually up in Comfort right now she's on their chamber board of directors.
Gotcha. Would she be able to, if, say we used all 65,000 that she printed, I doubt that would ever happen. Does she
Send
print more? Do we have to pay to print more?
It to me, please, email.
Hold on, I got a picture.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you're gonna do 65,000 distribution.
I don't either.
You're gonna show us an example that she sent you or what?
Yeah. So she's got a real rough draft. And then this is, even what's on here is going to change, because met with her earlier today.
Holy moly. Mine used to be side by side, not on top of each other.
What are you slipping up there?
Not real fancy.
It's where they set it up.
Is that the
Did you send it to
7,000
my
on
email?
the expenditures?
Office supplies.
Office supplies.
I don't have it.
That's sharp. I'm impressed. Who has a Bernie one? Who has the Bernie map?
It's on the opposite side, isn't yours?
No.
No.
No, this is the full area of Fredericksburg, and then this is their main drive.
Main draw.
Oh, well, then I have the same thing.
Okay, no one has the Bernie one? Somebody has a Bernie.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who's burning?
Yeah, Steven.
Okay.
You got Bernie. I didn't see Bernie. Take a look at Fredericksburg.
We used to have the Hill Country Mile in Bernie.
Yeah.
Is that
But they
it?
also go
Hill Country
laterally.
Mile is Bernie? Okay, I see it.
Actually, the blow-up of Bernie is in there, in the presentation.
Okay.
Oh, I've been,
And that's typically why you go in and do a blow-up of an area like that.
Well, this
because
Bernie's-
You get a level of detail.
The Bernie explains it more, actually, than what you explained to us than the one that says Fredericksburg.
Can't read a darn thing on this map.
We could do, how far is it from the city line to El Chaparral?
I mean, you're not a mile and a half.
Oh, we gotta have El Chaparral on there. I mean, come on.
El Chaparral is Old Town, right?
In Fredericksburg, they have.
No, El Chaparral's on it. That's Old Town. Okay.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, that's the north limit, I would say. There's not much businesses beyond Chaparral.
No.
Okay,
No,
and then you come
not
to
yet.
Chaparral down to the city limits. That's the north and south. And of course,
Right.
there's not much east or west, but north, But that strip should be just like they got there.
Yes, yes, okay.
Because you got all the strip center down there, both sides of the highway, you know, with Sonic and all those other places down there.
And on the
Anthony's.
On the Fredericksburg map,
Sonics
it
are going
takes
out.
in, it encompasses 8 blocks. Well, we wouldn't be much beyond that.
No, of course not. No,
That's
'cause we're smaller. Than they are, yeah. They've been around for a few more hundred years.
Now, this Bernie map, it's basically like only 2 or 3 blocks down in the downtown area. But they're a high concentration in Bernie.
Yeah, they'd be on the big map,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Okay, now, what,
They all, the ETJs
I have a
now
question.
going
Probably Medina.
to the quarry
Yeah.
right there.
Let me go through the rest of the presentation.
Okay.
So some of the other, I guess, benefits that, value added, that she offers, she created a website, that will have all the cities that she's working with on there, have a electronic version of the map, but it also, any of the advertisers will have kind of a microsite, so they'll have a business listing on there as well. And then she's tied Facebook and, I believe it's Instagram, some Twitter if there's promotions and stuff, but she's also provides racks for the maps to all the businesses. Let's see, yeah, we'll have the text boxes for events.
Yeah.
And then you can see, on the flip side of what customers get is the current distribution. So out in Fredericksburg, ads, I believe, are $6.95. They're really expensive. But she prints 200,000 maps. They get distributed out there. And like I said, they've been doing it for 25 years.
Burgersburg,
Yes,
200,000?
200,000
My
maps.
question leads to that. Where's the distribution to be made for the 65,000? What's her idea along that line?
So a good majority of them, thought I had it in here, are actually given out locally to, I mean, all the advertisers, all the points of interest.
Hotels.
You know, hotels are a big
Yeah.
one. And it's just constantly updated throughout the year. I mean, it's not a one-time drop and then they never see another map.
You know, she's talking about hotels, motels, airport, stuff like that?
You can always try getting an airport. I know I couldn't get our map in the airport. But, you know, San Antonio, the chamber downtown, I know will house them. The other visitor centers in the other cities, she's trying to work a deal with that. And then,
Doesn't every advertiser get a stack of them too?
absolutely, absolutely, as many as they want. She actually asked if we could house maps. So if a business ran out, if she could tell them, hey, we've got 1,000 maps down at the, EDC office, can you pick them up? And I said,
Right.
sure. That's not a problem. We can store something.
What are the ads gonna be in one if we do it?
If we do it, so if we don't do it, they're about $3.95 a piece in the first year. If we participate, we should be able to get it down somewhere between probably around $3.45.
345 for what?
An ad, a
Each
one
ad.
by one ad.
Like the ad.
$345 an ad.
Oh,
Right.
okay,
So
sorry.
Glenn, I think everyone has confusion because you haven't been able to finish your presentation. What is she wanting from us?
So, yeah, and that's
Which
what
is-
Rick was just whispering in my ear. So at the end of the presentation, yes.
I don't see anything.
$36,078.
$6,000 is what I felt comfortable coming to the board and requesting. She said the city of Terlingua and their chamber and organizations out there were able to get together $12,000. And I told her that's probably not gonna happen here. So
It's worth every cent.
amount of $6,000 would make it more affordable, gives our input into everything on how it's designed, drawn. The historical, I mean, all the aspects of the map, at least then we have input. It also speeds it up. If we don't participate, this could take in excess of a year before the first map hits the market, because you gotta get all your advertisers, and she needs 120 advertisers to pull this off. With
Right.
our help, she only needs 80. So, you know,
That helps.
and then also gives her the cash flow to flip it quickly.
And can we suggest, like, if there's room, how, when you did it, you had all the different telephone numbers, and then you had it by alpha, the different locations, and then the telephone numbers, so if you wanted to order something, or it was very easy to direct things. So, you know, I would suggest we put something like that in there. I know they have their phone numbers on here, but it's a little.
And she does, so, and I'm not sure if there's an example on that
No,
particular map.
there's not.
She showed me one this afternoon. So advertise, like if you have restaurants, that are advertising, she would create a list of a subcategory of restaurants and
But I
list
want-
all the phone numbers to those
Yes,
restaurants.
yes, exactly
Oh, yes.
like that, because
Yeah, we
it makes
talked
it
about that.
easier.
That's the same thing, isn't it? That's just art and antique shop.
Right.
But if, say that was
If
restaurant.
you look on this page where antiques are on the top there, this is a list of breweries, wineries, distilleries, and tasting rooms.
Right.
If you just go to the internet and type in a Lotus, it should give you a link to this thing.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That all depends on, so SEO and everything.
That's
Right now, you type in
That's
Helotus.
almost a no-cost deal, but I mean,
Well, yeah, if you go, the hope would be that the EDC, the city, Shop Lotus would all have links on there when you go to those sites, which are the ones that should come up first. There's a direct link to this, would be the assumption that would
we
be.
don't have to drive it to the top of the list. We can be 8, 10 down the line, but it should.
Okay, the 6,000 would come from our marketing, is what we're thinking? Yes, sir. The 35,000 we've allotted for next year or this year?
Next year.
Okay.
It's 6,000.
Yes.
We start October 1st.
Financially.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for any more discussion. Thoughts, any more discussion?
If I was a tourist and I saw this in my hotel room, I would use this before I would Google on my phone to find places.
Absolutely.
The editing.
I say we go to a
the
motion.
map,
Okay.
Number of businesses, we're also trying to get her to get the price
Do I have a
down.
motion to
They're not
proceed?
contributing financially.
She might, you have a question?
I'm definitely
gonna help
against
market
it
it and
if we're
advertise
not gonna include city limits to El Chaparral.
We are going to
They are going to
include.
be included.
So
You're talking
they're
about,
doing it on the flip side.
Chair,
No, on the
may I
flip side,
suggest,
say-
may I suggest
Lotus?
something?
I'm sorry, hold on.
If I may, to address Mr. Putty and Mrs. Seitz' concerns, I think the visual of what they are proposing would be, is worth 1,000 words. I would recommend postponing this item until next month, and so that we can have those visuals that they're proposing, and also the actual contract. I want to see the contract too.
Amen.
Okay.
So, and, because I also want to know, I want to be able to answer the question as to whether, what influence we're going to be able to have on the actual design of it, all those sorts of things. I think we have a few things that we need to address and come back to y'all with.
Okay.
If that's okay with you, Chair.
I think that's, I think
That's
that's
fair.
valid. I
I'm
think
good
she
with
should
that.
have given
Very
us an
fair.
option
I
to.
so move his comments are adopted we postpone it till next month for further review and information on her part, back to the board.
I second.
Moved and second that we table this item until the following meeting, pending a map example and contract.
Well, the contract will be up to us.
All in favor?
Aye. I'm good with that.
So you can tell her we have interest with edits, I guess.
Okay, number 8.
Sorry, I'm slow.
No, it's all right. It's just a staff update. We had the development update of businesses that are both now open or are pending, soon to be open. Helotus, old Helotus Inn in Old Town, which used to be the old Roger Solar's building, is open, and it's now a venue, can be rented for any number of services. She gets a lot of birthday parties, or she's trying to get into some weddings and stuff. trying to think, the Barbell. It's kind of a macro, I'm not into macro foods, but it's a macro dessert shop. So it's a lot of healthy, very healthy stuff, no bake desserts. People around here, I know Destination Fit, a lot of those people go over there. Just new concept to me. Great Harvest Bread Company, we'll knock on wood, should be opening within the next month. El Rodeo Mexican Grill, that one is where Tejas Barbacoa used to be, and then it was
Okay.
Grand Patron.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll them through there, huh?
And then the Panthers Country Cafe is the old Dagoberto's on
Okay.
Business Parkway by Walmart.
Wow.
And then we've got Healing Hands, doctor's office going in. I'm trying to remember what, it was a church. At one point, it's the Hill Country Crossing, two-story building on Bandera Road. And then 46th Street Pizza is working on their finish out next door to Navy Federal Credit Union, as well as Pet Barn.
Are they a chain?
They are a local chain. They have one over off of Calabria and Lone Star Parkway. I did go over there a couple weeks ago. It's New York style pizza, very similar to what Goomba's was here in Helotes or what Florio's has.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of updates, I guess, on our utility improvement projects. You can see all the road work still going out in front of our building here. It was a nightmare today with the asphalt. That should be wrapped up within the next 30 days, so get back to normal. The pedestrian bridge, again, we're still waiting on the Clomar. I'll check with LMB to see when we may anticipate an update on that one. And then the Hausman Road project, it was officially let in August. Anticipated to start construction the end of this year. And I believe that was a 36-month project. I mean, it's really long. Hopefully they'll get that one done a little bit quicker, but I know it's still utilities has been a big issue with them, AT&T especially. Realignment, that's the one that's almost done here. 1560 Bridge is done. And then they're doing the French Creek drainage project. They've run into, Mr. Schroeder's had a couple of issues, so it's been delayed, but they're still moving forward. The second page in the packet was an update on the Google 360 tours that we've been doing here with 360 Zone, John Alvarez. So it's a list of everything that's been complete to date. We still have quite a few businesses we're trying to schedule before the end of September to utilize those funds. And then if we're not able to get to all of them next month, I'll be bringing back to reissue that incentive program. But we've actually gotten quite a few.
So spent a little over $33,000. $3,500.
Yeah,
I don't remember what we allotted. I think 7, didn't we? 8.
8,000.
Okay.
Does he have more lined up to the end of the year, I assume? I assume he wants to use all that. It'd be silly if he
You know,
didn't.
sometimes the challenge is making sure the business is set up. So a couple of the venues, like Old Helotes Inn, that one, it's kind of pointless to take a 360 tour of an empty shell. It doesn't represent the business well. So we're waiting for her to have a nice wedding done in there, so everything is decorated.
Makes
So you can go in. Some of the other ones, just been timing. People are going out on vacations and all sorts of fun stuff.
We good? All right.
Ben, could I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
The property by Bobby J's that was advertising, do the Habees, did they take that back, or is it the
They
developer?
never relinquished the property. So the lower, roughly 1 acre, was bought by O'Reilly Auto Parts. So he owns, I think the balance is somewhere around 3.6, maybe 4 acres. that Habey still owns. The developer that had the signs up has got a tentative contract extension. We kind of stepped in and got the parties communicating again, brought in an engineer to give some advice on how they can move forward. A lot of it had to do with the O'Reilly Auto Parts store. They're grading down 9 feet. So that created an access issue for the potential development, because they had an agreement for a cross easement access. 9-foot drop, that means his whole, in his mind, he had to bring his whole 4 acres down 9 feet, and that's not financially viable. But we've come up with some other options, and he's actually got probably about 50-60% of it. He has LOIs, so, you know, not a, it's not a contract, but, I mean, there's people that want to move in.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be 20,000 square foot if it moves forward.
Anybody else? We will adjourn the meeting at 7:50.